Hi guys, welcome back to the Astrology. Today we are talking about Saturn's transit into the sign of Pisces. In this video, we are going to be talking about the Sagittarius zodiac sign. You can watch this video both from a Sagittarius ascendant rising Lagna or from Sagittarius moon perspective as well. Of course, when you are watching from a moon standpoint, what you have to remember is that this video will entail the emotional and mental significations of the transit for you. Whilst from an ascendant or rising sign perspective, you are going to see more of physical realizations, physical manifestations coming into fore. Now, the important thing for you guys to understand is that Saturn is moving into the sign of Pisces on 29th of March 2025. And he's going to be there till June of 2027. Then he moves ahead, get into the sign of Aries, but he will retrograde and come back. So that is how he's going to finish that 2.5 years quarter within the Pisces itself. So there is no escaping. It is also important for you to understand, guys, that for Sagittarius moon, this transit is going to be happening in your fourth house, which means you are also going to be undergoing Dhaya of Shani. While from a Sagittarius ascendant perspective, it is predominantly from a fourth house placement of Saturn perspective that we are going to be analyzing this reading. All right, without further ado, guys, let's jump into the reading and understand what this transit holds for my Sagittarius friends. So, Sagittarius, as that Saturn happens to be the Lord for your second and your third house, and he has moved into the fourth house placement, or rather, he will be moving into the fourth house from 29th of March. Important thing for you to note is that being the Lord of your second house, he was placed into the third house for all this while. And third house being the challenging house placement that is it placement of a malefic like Saturn into is an excellent thing. It gives a person the ability to deal with the challenges that come your way. And bear it or not, it's a fact, Sagittarius, that last couple of years have been extremely busy period for you. You've been super busy, both from a Lagna as well as emotional perspective on your moon sign standpoint. Either busy with physical activities or busy with thinking about different things that you need to address, different battles that you need to undertake, that you need to overcome. And that has been the theme for you because when second lord is moving second place to itself, Bhavarth Bhavan was applicable, x to the power x is coming into play. You will realize that your family, your own assets, your own savings would have been playing a crucial part in terms of getting invested in whatever you are doing. And I choose to use the word investment because Sagittarius, you would have seen that you've been pumping in your own effort, your own money, even the support of your family in form of emotional support or financial support would have been coming in this period to hone what you've been trying to expand upon. Now, Saturn was placed in its own Mool Trikon sign of Aquarius, which means that whilst his placement was okay and actually positive for you guys being in the third house, but his aspects were extremely challenging for you. In fact, two of his aspects are into the sign of Mars itself. One was in the sign of Aries and the other was in the sign of Scorpio. And the Aries aspect was a debilitated aspect coming in from Saturn, third aspect into your fifth house. Whilst the third aspect was into the inimical sign of Leo into your ninth house, and that was not easy at all as well. First and foremost, what we say is that being placed in the third house, being the lord of second, it brought support, action, focus from all the aspects of second into the third itself. But being the third lord and being in third, it meant that Sagis, you've been driven by hard work. You've been driven by the challenges that have come your way, and you've done your level best to encounter those challenges. People who were associated with communications industry, digital media of some shape and form, YouTube, Instagram, social media broadcasting, any kind of business or event management that required networking of some sorts, all those people should have seen some form of success come their way. Yes, it would have been hard fought. Yes, it would have kept you busy. Yet, you would have seen positive outcome transpire for you folks. The other bit that you would have noticed is that this has been a time where you would have spent a lot of physical effort in terms of either learning a new hobby, you could have picked up a new sport, you could have traveled a lot related to profession, career, both short and long distances through the course of this period. And it would have drained a lot of your energy whilst doing so, but that was also needed. It is also possible that some of you were actually living far away from your family itself, and you were actually doing your level best in terms of addressing the needs of what your family wants from you. Saturn's placement in the sign of Aquarius in your third house also indicates that you would have either benefited or leveraged your short distance travels. It means it could have either brought you closer to your family because you were staying far away from your family members. You would have had to travel to go and meet your family and have that peaceful time. Or for other folks, it could have become a significant reason for your sources of income, for your job prospects itself. You could have either got a new job that required you to travel, or you would have taken up roles and responsibilities which were in a new job function. Last 2.5 years could have reflected into a job change. And if that has not happened for you, Sagittarius, mind you, that possibility is going to be high with this transit. Before I talk about what would be the impact when Saturn gets into Pisces, we need to also look as to what happens with the aspects. Saturn was giving a debilitated aspect into your fifth house, not at all great with respect any kind of new initiatives, startups that you would have embarked upon. It wouldn't have been good in terms of your stock market trading investment strategies too. This is where last 2.5 years you would have seen the biggest hit come your way. It would have impacted your relationships. If you were a single watching this video and not married, you would have realized that your romantic relationships, your connection with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your better half would not have been to the zilt as you would have imagined it to be. It required a lot of nurturing. It required a lot of effort from your side. And even though you were trying to give the best in your communication, in your expression, probably there was some gap that it was not able to reach then. And this is one of the shifts that you are going to observe with this change of Saturn coming into play. Because post this transit, post 29th March, even though Saturn is entering into the sign of Pisces in combustion, you will realize that as the months proceed, as Rahu also gets separated from that placement and moves into your third house, Saturn's involvement into your fourth house by itself will bring you relief from the challenges that you are having in your romantic life. Students who are watching this video, you are going to find extremely positive results now spring up with respect to your university education, your degrees, your admission into the right colleges. What you will realize is that this is going to be the period right from the transit period itself, that your interest to gain more knowledge, both traditional and academic, your rigor in terms of putting in efforts to acquire that knowledge is going to be on the higher side. You are going to leave no stone unturned when it comes to acquiring the right knowledge with respect to yourself. The other bit is it will also make you strong when it comes to competition, when it comes to representing, demonstrating that knowledge that you've acquired to the outer world. And it should reflect into your graduation, university admissions as well. This Saturn was giving an inimical aspect into the ninth house. Long distance travels were not working out. People who are employed, working in some sort of a job, your relationship with your managers, with your superiors, seniors at work were not conducive. In fact, you faced a lot of disrespect, challenge, obstacles come your way in your job as well. And it wasn't an easy period for you at all. Some of you might have gained some respect from your colleagues, from your peers, and even from your bosses if Saturn held a good dignity or Sun held a very strong position in terms of Shadbal or Ashtavarga score in your natal chart. But the transit was giving an ill effect. In fact, many of you would have seen futile long distance travels also come into play. It would have actually jolted your self belief, your self confidence. You would have at some point in time questioned if you are moving in the right direction or not. The things that you believe in, the principles that you follow, the thought process that you rely on, is it in the right track or not? But Sagis, hold your reins, because you are extremely trustworthy zodiac. You are a principled zodiac, and Saturn's aspect was into the natural ninth house. Even though in your chart it is being ruled by Sun, naturally Jupiter has a control over there. And that is why your Lagna Lord's transit as well as his natal position becomes extremely crucial. Now, the Saturn was also giving an aspect into your 12th. Expenses were on a high. You were constantly being checked, challenged. If whatever you are planning to invest in, whatever decisions you are making with respect to your foreign or international collaborations, are they in the right direction or not? However, people who were working in multinational corporations, people who were working in connections that had an engagement to work with an abroad entity, with an international entity, would have seen some success come their way too. Yes, albeit that success could have come after a rigorous fight, after some sort of transformative situation, after some sort of a delay. Things wouldn't have transpired as easy for you. Well, none of this would make sense if you have an extremely strong Saturn's position in your natal chart. Then things become much easier when compared to what the transit was promising, because the aspects in the transit weren't great. In fact, from a normal situation as well, it could have been detrimental to you in terms of this transit for the last 2.5 years. However, as Saturn shifts into your fourth house, first and foremost thing that you will observe is that for Sagittarius, Shani Dhaya period starts. See, Saturn's placement into the fourth house, whether you are watching this from an Sagittarius moon perspective or even from a rising standpoint, you have to understand that he is going to bring some level of emotional pain, mental pain, stress to your head. Of course, because for moon, that fourth becomes the natural ownership in the Kalpurus chart. Fourth house is the lordship coming under moon itself. For Sagittarius moon, it is a Daya period and it becomes much more turbulent. But the impact of this emotional and mental stress is going to be visible for Sagittarius rising folks as well. I'm not trying to draw parallels or comparisons here. It could be marginally tougher for the Sagittarius moon people, but it will be equally challenging for Sagittarius rising ascendant guys as well. Why do I say that? See, wherever Saturn comes, he tends to do good in that particular house and is challenging when it comes to its aspects. But in the fourth house, Saturn finds his own energy very lethargic. It is in an abysmal state because he is losing the directional strength as well. He is getting not so enthused about what he can deliver because it's the natural Cancerian sign, or the Cancerian energy is revolving in that fourth house. And thus, the hard working nature of this cold planet is not depicted in full energy in the watery signs. He prefers air, as we've discussed in Saturn all houses videos as well. So if you've not had a chance, guys, this is an opportunity for you that after watching this video, please go ahead and check out that entire list and it will give you a lot of clarity from that perspective. Now, Saturn's placement into the fourth only relief is that it is in a neutral relationship with Jupiter, who is your Lagna Lord. And thus, Jupiter's placement for you guys, Sagittarius, in your natal chart as well as the transit through the course of the year is going to be absolutely crucial. He is currently under the affliction of Saturn sitting in the sign of Taurus. But later on, he moves into the sign of Gemini, where he comes out of that grip of Saturn and then moves into the sign of Cancer, where he gets exalted and then starts controlling the fourth house or Saturn itself. So you will find a lot more relief as Jupiter also moves out of that challenging placement for you folks right now. But sitting in the fourth house, this Saturn will give an opportunity for you guys to do something in terms of expansion of your property asset, movable, immovable assets. High probability that you might want to purchase something. Go ahead and refurnish your house with new furniture, new equipment, new apartment, house, property in itself, or maybe even a new vehicle. And that becomes extremely crucial because this Saturn is going to give you the possibility to expand on the material side of things. Then, on the non material significations too, you will observe that it is going to bring in expansion in your knowledge. You will pick up new subjects. You are going to learn new things, expand your learnings overall. Why? Because that debilitated aspect of Saturn, which was coming into the fifth, is now left out of control, and he himself has come and placed himself into the fourth house, which is your true knowledge, your intellectual property. But you will have to be careful with respect to the health of your mother. She could be facing some emotional, physical challenges, especially pains in her joints. And that can be a little tricky if your parents are old. You will have to take care of your parents, and taking proper care of your mother during this period is going to be acting like a remedy for your Saturn placement too. So you must keep that in mind. Now, as you move ahead, you will notice that Saturn this time around is going to be having different, not aspects, but aspects into the different signs. First and foremost, he gets an aspect into his friend Venus in the sixth house in the sign of Taurus. The second aspect is seventh, which is into the 10th house in the sign of Virgo, ruled by Mercury. And then into your Lagna, into your first house from a moon standpoint in the sign of Sagittarius itself, which becomes extremely crucial for you to understand that what will be the repercussions of these aspects of Saturn. Saturn's third aspect will be falling into your sixth house, which is ruled by Taurus Venus. And this aspect is going to be especially challenging one from your work life profession perspective, especially if you are in a job. It is going to bring in new level of obstacles, challenges to your work life. You will be constantly tested in terms of your merit, your approach, your day to day strategy that you are going to bring to the table when you approach your work, your career. And thus, it becomes extremely important to maintain a cool demeanor and focus towards what actions need to be taken from your side. I can tell you with a lot of confidence, if you not worry about the frills around everything and are hyper focused, laser focused in terms of the duties that you have to perform, you will see a much better outcome with the aspect of this Saturn. It's not an inimical aspect, it is coming into the sign of Venus. People who are associated in professions of Venus or with Mercury, they will be in a much better state. If you are in data science, if you are in any kind of financial analysis, you are in luxury products selling and buying, you are in healthcare industry, you are in healing, you are in nursing, beauty products, fragrances, all of these industries related to Venus as well as Mercury, you are going to have a much more peaceful time when compared to others, because Saturn is going to give that aspect of challenging your dues. He wants to observe that whether or not you are going to be performing your duty with 100% commitment or not. After all, if you are observing it from Sagittarius moon perspective, it's a dhaya and a difficult one. But Sagis, you have to understand, this is also forming a decent Shatruhanta Yoga. It gives you the ability to overcome those problems. He is giving an aspect to the 10th house as well, means he is going to be nurturing your efforts, your karmas, your hard work. And if you are able to align your energies from those angles, you will realize that you will shine at your workplace. Now, this is, of course, not the aspect only from a workforce perspective. Sixth house is the house of loans, litigations, challenges that you are facing with respect to your marital life, divorce, your health in general. And Saturn is going to test you in all these areas. I will advise you not to go beyond your means in terms of procuring any kind of loans. It will not be ideally suited for your needs. You will have to focus with respect to your health during this period. Now, don't be scared. There is nothing extraordinarily difficult which is coming your way unless and until it is committed in your natal chart. However, you still have to take due precautions and efforts to ensure that you are not falling into wrong circumstances. You are not leading into situations where you end up making expenses or losses. Visit to the hospital or to the doctor is highly probable. Feeding dogs, taking care of the homeless people, feeding something to the homeless people is going to be an excellent remedy during this period. Saturn is going to be kind to you if you continue to do that. You will have to follow a regimen in terms of your exercise schedule or figure out what is the right approach to tackle it, because Saturn is also giving an aspect to your 10th house, to your karma, to your hard work, towards your house of fame. And this is going to be a better one because it is going to provoke you. It is going to promote that level of hard work, especially if you are an enterprising personality who wants to run something of their own, who wants to achieve something new, who is looking forward to make a shift in their job and career. Those kind of possibilities will also come into play during this 2.5 year transit period. And especially if you are watching this from a Sagittarius moon standpoint, your intent to make a shift in your career could be very high. And the reason is that you could have had a difficult relationship with your bosses and superiors in the last 2.5 years. You might want to jump the ship during this phase. Now, I'm nobody to advise you in the right or the wrong direction, but I will ask you to consider staying back wherever you are, unless and until situation is very toxic at your workplace and it is an absolute necessity. And the reason I say that is that this Saturn is going to be giving an aspect to your first house as Sagittarius moon to your moon and as Sagittarius ascendants to your Lagna itself, which means that some obstacles, challenges are bound to come your way. You will have to fight those scenarios. You will have to fight and overcome those battles before you are able to accomplish the targets and objectives that you've set for yourself. Nothing is going to happen smoothly in the next 2.5 years. And please, the more you crib about it, the harder this journey is going to be. I can tell you, who's been navigating a lot of these challenges of Saturn, who has Saturn as ascendant, I know how difficult it is to navigate. So when I'm trying to give you some thought process, knowledge, gyan, whatever you call it, it's coming with experience, especially with Saturn and Ketu in my life. And I've learned the art to navigate it effectively. Hopefully, I'm not being arrogant about it, okay? Mr. Saturn, if you're watching me. But the point I'm trying to make is he's just trying to test us with difficult situations. He's trying to see that whether or not we have the grit to sustain it. And Sagittarius, your grit will be challenged. This Saturn is going to aspect your first house, irrespective if you are a moon or a rising. You will face obstacles. You might have to go back to your roots, visit your hometown, visit the place where you were born in these 2.5 years. That is also possible, especially if that connection happens with Saturn being in trine to the natal Saturn placement for you in your chart. That could be a very strong possibility in this case for you, Sagittarius. So, my recommendation to you would be that do not crib about such situations. Be open to the dynamics that are changing, ever evolving in your life. It's going to be a lot that's going to be happening in these 2.5 years. And you have to be busy. You have to be busy physically. You have to be busy mentally, constantly processing what's happening in your life all around you. And if you do not give up, if you do not crib, if you are not falling, is okay as long as you stand up every time. If you continue to do that during this transit of Saturn, my God, would be such a blessing in disguise. It is going to transform you as a human. It is going to evolve you as a person. You will come out stronger, my friends. Do not fall for any negative hype that is being created across channels. My objective and agenda through this channel is to ensure that you think positively, approach this period positively ahead, plan on it accordingly. All right. I hope this makes sense. If it does, then you must be smashing on that like button right now, subscribing to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Om Namah Shivaya.